But let's jump right on over to Sunday. No time to rest because we have our Sunday slate starting at 1 p.m. Tony Romo on color, Jim Nance on play-by-play. The Jacksonville Jaguars, winners of the AFC South, going against the Buffalo Bills, who will be getting a new stadium next year. I'm sure Lorenzo could care less about all of that Bills news. I know Lorenzo isn't the biggest fan of the Bills, so that is why, Lorenzo, you will start off. What are you thinking with this matchup?
Oh, Sebastian, I'm not a big fan of both teams, be quite
Really?
honest. I
All right.
honestly, personally, I hate both teams.
Really?
Equal, yeah, different reasons, my friend.
Why the
But
Jaguars? What did the Jaguars do to you?
oh, playoffs, don't you remember?
From
Steelers
Blake Bortles?
playoffs,
I remember that.
2007, 2017. They
Yep,
knocked us around. Yeah,
that's true.
making fun of the terrible towel. Oh yeah, we don't forget. Steeler fans
What,
don't
what would you
forget
do? What
that.
would you do if Jeremy made fun of the terrible towel on this call?
Well, I would say Jeremy, just look at the Jets, and that's about it.
Ooh,
That's
ooh.
a just period. But anyhow, huge matchup here. Regardless of if I like or dislike the team, this is probably this is the toughest one. I think this is the toughest prediction game here. You got Buffalo coming in once again, another season where they're looking incredible. They're 12-5. They had an amazing stretch at the end of the season. Had a couple easy games, I will admit, but they still pulled through. They did everything that they just won the football games, and that's how you win. That's how football is. You win the big games. That's about it. They did have a easy streak with the Bengals, which was a rough game, surprisingly. I didn't think it'd be that rough with such a horrible defense. The same thing with the Cleveland Browns, and then the Jets game where they blew them out like crazy. And then, of course, the Steelers game, ugly win, ugly loss for us. They had a great win over the Buccaneers earlier in the season. They dominated Carolina when they were still trying to find their footing, and then the rest of the games they won the Dolphins, Saints, Chiefs. A lot of easy wins, I would say, but got a lot of good playoff game wins there. So Buffalo is looking great in this season. Going into the playoffs, I'm looking at James Cook. Honestly, I think the running game is gonna be incredible going into this one. I think their key is the run as well, but I also think that we could see a potentially big game with Josh Allen as well. Josh Allen he's had a couple good games in the first round where it's never usually his fault when they've lost the playoff games. I think the biggest factor for the Bills to lose this game is by far the coaching. I think they don't have I don't I think they have a very I think they have a very mediocre coaching staff. I don't like McDermott. I think he sucks. I think he should be gone. Straight up. And the one evidence of it is literally last season against the Chiefs. That whole game. Like you didn't let Josh out. You didn't let let me make this clear. You didn't let the so-called league's MVP, who was handed to, I think Saquon still should have won it. But the petty award winning MVP of 2024, Josh Allen, you didn't let him throw the ball at all. You went with the Eagles. You went with a deformed version of the tush push. And I'm going to use deformed because it never worked for them. The whole game, the run didn't work for them. I don't know why they did it at the end of the game. Somebody tell me that because I don't know why. They literally gave the game to Kansas City. I think it comes down to coaching plan. And I think because of the coaching plan, and I have no faith in their coaching staff, by the way, I think they're a great playing team, but their plans are just horrible. I don't think they execute good on the coaching side, and I think that's going to be the biggest factor because if there's one team in the league that improved their coaching staff other than the Bears, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. No question about it. Liam Cohen has taken this team to new heights. And last couple 2 seasons they were complete poverty. They were a joke, a laughing joke. I used to make jokes after class with Shayan and Jeremy about how bad the Jaguars were and how much we hated Trevor Lawrence. But this season, he's really made me shut my mouth. So I'm going to say that. Uh, Trevor Lawrence has had a phenomenal year under Liam Cohen. He's brought the best out of him. He's brought something that what was his name? Who was his name the year before? I know the face. was it Doug, their
Then
head coach last
Doug
season,
Peterson.
Doug
Doug Peterson.
Peterson. Doug Peterson. Something that Doug Peterson couldn't do was bring the best out of Trevor Lawrence and couldn't bring the best out of this team. And yes, I do believe in the Travis Hunter effect. I do believe that was a huge factor in this. I know there was a couple people saying that he was a big factor in why they're winning this season. I do think so. Passing offense has never looked better, and I think in this game, the pass is going to be. They're going to live by the pass. I mean, you take a look at Trevor Lawrence's numbers this year. I think he's had his best year by far this season. This has been his breakout year, and it's been a rough road for him. I mean, you thrown in. It's been a rough coaching staff he's been thrown under. I mean, he was thrown in as a starter the first rookie season, thrown right into the game. No real training. No, not real. Just right out of training camp. Just came right on the scene. The Jags thought they were going to win with him. Totally went under the ceiling, and now look, went under the roof, under the bottom. And now you look at this game. He's going into this as one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he just came off an amazing, even though it was the last game of the season. He had over 250. He had over 250 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Just an unbelievable game for Trevor Lawrence. Made all the critics, including myself, shut up. And an 8-game winning streak. I mean, you can question a lot of the games. I mean, the Colts' downfall. Big win. The biggest win was over the Denver Broncos by far. I think that was a legitimate win right there. And going into this one, I think they're going to be an amazing team, and you're going to want to see that offense. That offense is going to be incredible. So 13-4, give me the Jags to win this one in a huge win, and it's going to be at home. So I think the home field advantage is going to play a big factor in this.
Strong words from a strong man. Lorenzo, you were so in the zone. Did you see the beautiful comment that Shayan left for you? Really nice gesture
I
by
did,
Shayan.
right? You know what's so great about this? I want to give a shout out, everybody, to Shayan Malik. He literally made cards for me. He thought about me so much before he made
no.
a
We're not
sheet
twisting it. We're
with
not
my
twisting
name
it.
on it, saying
Show the
all
card, Shayan.
the things
Show the
I
viewers
love.
Yeah,
in case
I
they
got
missed
you. I
it.
got
We
you.
got to give a shout out, pat on the back to Shayan Malik
Yeah,
for
no,
today.
you're funny,
Thumbs
bro.
up.
There's one that says Yo Lorenzo was good, bro. Then there's another
He
one that
thought
says
about me this
Lorenzo
much.
shouts
Look
out.
how much he thought about me. Oh my god! Right
Took
before
me
my
took
birthday.
me 10 seconds, Lorenzo. Happy birthday, Lorenzo.
What a gift!
How's
Thank
your
you,
day
my
been?
friend. Thank you, brother. But
Lo-
that's
I
my
asked you,
prediction.
I
Give
asked you
me
how
the
your day was,
Jags.
and you ignored me. Now I feel sad.
What?
I
Don't
asked you how
make
your day
Shayan feel
was.
sad.
Oh
Yeah,
no, I'm not gonna make him feel sad. We just had to lock in on business, Shayon. You know what I'm
Listen,
saying? But
on the
give me
I'm
the
sports
upset.
Jags
corner,
over the Buffalo Bills.
we're always locking in on the sports corner. You mentioned the Travis Hunter effect, which I don't know if, well, at the beginning of the year, sure, but he hasn't. I think he's been hurt. He hasn't played in maybe 6
And that's the funny
weeks.
switch because since he hasn't played, look at what they've done.
It's just his presence. You're saying just the vibe.
I think it's just him. I don't know. The Jaguars have definitely had a lucky 4-leaf clover on them.
Well, listen, you talk about making the right hire. It does look like Liam Cohen is the guy. Of course, obviously too early to say that in year one, but they've done great on offense. Maybe the Buccaneers should have kept him last year as their head coach and then got rid of Todd Bowles, but they didn't do that. But you talk about looking into this game and what can happen on both sides. I don't see any team in the AFC besides maybe the Texans stopping that offense. That is right now, in my opinion, the best offense in the AFC. Trevor Lawrence has had a career year. Travis Etienne, they have a four-headed monster in the receiving room. You trade for Jacoby Myers at the deadline. Brian Thomas, sure, he's been quiet. That's great and all. But now the attention is basically on Myers because he has emerged as that number one option. If Brian Thomas can just be that number two, along with Parker Washington and Brenton Strange, that's a tough offense to stop. Really, really difficult to stop. And then you talk about defensively, Anthony Campanelli, defensive coordinator, New Jersey native, Fair Lawn, New Jersey, Anthony Campanelli. A lot of Jersey guys. You have Jeff Halfley, Montville, New Jersey, making their way in the coaching ranks. Maybe we'll get Lorenzo after he's done with his broadcasting career, linebacker coach for the Steelers. So you
Could
have
be
that with the
possible.
Jaguars.
Could be
Yeah,
possible. I'm thinking about it, Sebastian. I'm
listen,
thinking
it's
about it.
possible. It's possible. And then, but I don't know. And then you have Buffalo. Of course, you mentioned their running game with James Cook. Josh Allen, of course, at quarterback. You can't count out the MVP when it comes to putting together a good performance for some games offensively, but I don't see it happening. I think the Jaguars win this game by a pretty good margin, honestly. I have the Jaguars winning this game. Shayan, what do you think?
I gotta agree with you, right? I think Jacksonville's offense, especially recently, has been really good. I wouldn't even say better than Buffalo, which I don't think anybody was expecting heading into the season. I think the second half of the season, this offense has pretty much been on point. And you can make an argument about, the comp they've played. They haven't played that many playoff teams. Uh, but then again, they did beat Denver, right? They beat Denver and they allowed 20 from Denver, which Denver's not necessarily a good offensive team, so maybe it wasn't the best defensive performance. But then you look at those two Colts wins, right? That's when the Colts were a playoff team. Technically, they're obviously not a playoff team anymore. And Daniel Jones was hurt for, I believe, both of those games, right? Or I think he got injured. I think that was the game he got hurt. Then, of course, but then that Chargers game, which really kind of started the run, that was an amazing win over the Chargers. The Chargers have not looked that bad ever since that game, in my opinion, right? You look at this Jacksonville offense, they got a lot of guys that can go to, and I think that's what differentiates them from Buffalo. You got, of course, a QB that is, in my opinion, I do agree, has been having the best season of his career. You got ETN, you got BTJ, who's kind of had an inconsistent second half or just an overall inconsistent season, but he's still a really good at this point receiver too. Now that he is a receiver two, I'd consider him one of the better receiver twos in the NFL. You got Jacoby Myers, who has kind of flourished for them, right? Kind of flourished, especially, as of recently. You look at Buffalo's offense, and yes, they do have Josh Allen. They do have a guy who's always in the MVP conversation, and who I honestly believe every single year because of how consistent he is. I do think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. So, and I understand that's like, oh, it's Josh Allen. He's really good. But then you got to look around him, right? You got James Cook, who has been really good this season, but then you got Keon Coleman as one of his top receivers. Yeah, Kincaid. It's you look at both of those offenses, and I think Jacksonville just has more targets, more guys they can go to. And then you switch to the defensive side of things, where I don't necessarily think that the Jaguars have a good defense, but they have a formidable defense, right? They have a defense that has stopped good offensive teams, that has slowed down good offensive teams. I can't say that for Buffalo. I don't like Buffalo's defense at all. I think that is one of the weaker defenses in the entire NFL. If someone told me that they think the Bills have the worst defense in the entire league, I wouldn't bat an eye about it. So that's, I think, one of the other things that really differentiates them. I didn't like when you think about it on paper, right? Bills, Jaguars. It's like an easy. It should consider be like an easy pick, right? Oh, the Bills. It's the Bills. But then when you really think about it, like in depth, when you look at how both teams have played this season, I think Jacksonville is going to extend their, what is it, 8 game winning streak. I think they're going to extend that to 9 games against Buffalo.
And the thing you talked about that Denver game, that was a game a little over a month ago where the Jaguars won 34 to 20. And I mentioned how, from a defensive standpoint, for Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator, how it's very difficult to game plan for this Jaguars offense because we talk about the plethora of options.
Hmm.
Parker Washington in that game, 6 receptions, 145 yards, and a touchdown. Parker Washington, and that's not a knack on Parker Washington. He has been a very good player. But that was also a game where BTJ, as Shayan mentioned, is a good, formidable wide receiver too. He only had 2 receptions for 18 yards. So it's not a matter. It's similar. Shout out this Montclair State basketball team. It's tough to plan for Montclair State basketball because they have so many options in their starting lineup and on the bench. And then you translate that over to football. And then it's the same thing. It's so difficult to stop. Mo and Jeremy will be all over that tomorrow on the game. Looking forward to listening since I'll be on panel. But you have this Jaguars offense, and then the Bills. You're searching for that guy. Keon Coleman is not a good wide receiver too. You have Khalil Shakir, but Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch for a matchup. So that just goes to show you that Sean McDermott doesn't have full trust in his guy. Bless you, Lorenzo. I know you had to sneeze. So
Thank
Mo
you.
Camel, what are you thinking about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what everybody said. I mean, this Jaguars team just they have so many options. They're one of the best teams offensively in the NFL with 28 points a game. It like you guys all said, it's hard to stop this offense. With so many options. And you look at Buffalo, your top receiver is really Khalil Shakir. I mean, that's one thing I'm concerned about with the Bills. I just feel like they don't really have that many good receivers, and yet they're still a good football team. They were 12-5, but yeah, I mean, obviously they rely on the running game a lot with James Cook. James Cook, very great running back. I definitely respect James Cook. But I think if you're Buffalo, you gotta get your receiving core going. I mean, you look at this Jaguars defense, they've only allowed a total of 85 rushing first downs. And how much does Jacksonville have? 124, which is almost 40 more than their opponents. So this it's going to be tough for this Buffalo rush game. They got to find openings for James Cook if they want to get the running game going. But that's why they need to open up the passing game a little more, because this Jaguars rush defense is in my opinion, one of the top in the NFL. So that's going to be one key for Buffalo. But like all you guys said with Jacksonville's offense, they have so many good guys. Getting Jacoby Myers late in the season was a huge pickup for them. That's why they continued this wonderful streak that they had been having. Obviously, I don't know if anybody really mentioned this or not. Trevor Lawrence, 4,000 passing yards. I mean, first time in his career. He's had the best year in his career. He really like Lorenzo said. He shut a lot of haters' mouths up. I mean, Trevor Lawrence really surprised me this year. I did not expect him to have the kind of year that he's had, and I think with his play and this entire receiving core and having Travis Etienne on the rush game, I really think this Jaguars team could go deep potentially. But uh, for my prediction, I think I'm also going to take the Jaguars because this team, they just have a good all around team. They surprised everybody in the South. I mean, I guess you could say they took advantage of that Colts downfall, but I think they still would have won the South anyway, even if the Colts were not hurt. I still think they would have still won the South, and they would be where they are today. I can't wait for this game. I think it's going to be a really good one, but I'm gonna also take the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you take any other team, I think, besides the Jaguars, and let's say you take the same exact players and you give them over to, I don't know, let's say the Ravens made the playoffs. So say a world the Ravens made it. I don't know. I think if we imagine we get a Panthers Jaguars Super Bowl, they may air that on a Tuesday at 3 a.m. on the Disney Channel. That is a very high possibility if we get those two teams, which would honestly, for Roger Goodell, that would be a nightmare. I don't know. I'm sure he has, I don't know if he has preferences, but he wants the big market teams. I think Liam Cohen took offense to what Sean Payton said in a press conference when he mentioned how the Jaguars are a lower market team. But I don't know. The Jaguars have been playing some really good ball, so I don't think that matters. Jeremy Rodriguez, will you be the one to make it 6 for 6?
No,
No. All
no.
right.
I think this is the bear. Listen, the Bills Mafia, whatever they got going on, it's dying. They have a few years left. I don't think the Bills. It's really the circle, the whatever you want to call it. It's winding down. I don't think they have many more years left of being dominant. I think this is the year for them. This is you don't have Patrick Mahomes if you're Josh Allen. Yes, you still have great teams around, but this is the year for the Bills. If there's a year for the Bills, it's this year. I think the Jaguars, yes, as good as they've been this year, they're inexperienced. And that's also a big thing when it comes to playoffs. You're playing a guy in Josh Allen who's had several key um, playoff matchups. I mean, we all know the miraculous one, the famous one against Patrick Mahomes, where it was just a crazy game. And then, he's had some great playoff battles. So I think that plays into a factor in the playoffs. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a great game. I think, again, it's just playoffs. Playoffs are a different atmosphere, and you're going to be at the home of the Bills as well. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So I personally, I will stick with the Bills here. The defense is going to be the main reason. If they lose this game, that will be the reason why. I think this has the potential to be the best game of the weekend with just how many points are going to be scored. I think it will be. I think this can be like a 30-30 something game. I think both teams score over 28 points. It's a very hot take, but I think the Bills take it. I do. And I think James Cook is going to be MVP. And if not, why not? Khalil Shakir. And if Dalton Kincaid plays, he needs to play. He needs to play. It's a big key.
Mo, I know. Did you have something to say, Mo?
I mean, we also got to keep in mind that this is the first time since 2020 that the Buffalo Bills did not win their division. They don't have a home playoff game in the first round, so that's something to look at there. You know, Josh Allen in the first round going on the road.
He'll be fine.
All right. Jeremy has trust in his guy. Lorenzo, I don't think Lorenzo does. But here is also another thing when it comes to that matchup is Jacksonville. They have that home game. Obviously, weather won't be as much as a factor in the Sunshine State. You have beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. So both teams, the weather should be even. I don't think there's any rain in the forecast. I could be wrong. I'm not necessarily the one to go out of my way to look at the weather in Jacksonville. So maybe Nick does that on his free time. I'll ask Nick if he looks at the weather in Jacksonville. I'll have to ask him that at work. Maybe he's at work and just I don't know. But that's a question for Nick Supa. So we go 5 for 6, our second 5 for 6 pick of the day. We went 5 for 6 with Rams Panthers, 4 for 6 with oh no, I'm not even counting. Yes. Yes. All right. So we are 3 out of 3 done. We're halfway there in this slate. Halfway there, midday on Sunday afternoon, 4:30 p.m. We have the 3 seed Eagles taking on the 6 seed San Francisco 49ers. What a roller coaster it honestly has been for the 49ers. They had a chance last week to secure the number 1 seed in the NFC, were unable to do so, and with the Rams win over the Cardinals last Sunday, they drop all the way to the 6 seed. Lorenzo Gonzalez III, start this one off. What are we thinking in this crucial NFC matchup?
Oh goodness. Well, haven't the Eagles fallen from grace? Haven't they
Yeah.
fallen? They've definitely. This is one of those situations I think where Philly's had. Um, they've had that Super Bowl hangover, as they call it. After such a phenomenal year, this has been quite underwhelming. I mean, you take a look at game by game, it's been really, really, really rough. I mean, to start it off, I mean, you have that upset win that the Giants had in MetLife. Shayan and Mo are very happy. We're very happy about that one. I think every Giants fan was. That was a big moral win there. Shout out to the Giants for that win. That was a great win. Um, then you have that you also lose to the Broncos earlier in the season. But then you really start the train really starts falling off the track later on where you lose to the Cowboys in a nail biter. Then you lose in overtime to a Chargers team that really suspect. We'll talk about them real soon. To me, they're suspect. We'll talk about them soon, though. And then you have a 1 point win over Buffalo, which is fine. But you lose to Washington. An ugly, ugly, ugly loss. I just don't think the Eagles are overall. I don't think the Eagles are like they were last year. And I think that this could easily be a first round exit team. I am counting them out because they really haven't shown me much flash this season. I think they saved their best years for last year. And the real question in this one to you guys is, does the Madden curse exist? I talked about it a while back on my other show on the Fire Sports Pod when I used to be on it with Zach. And we debunked it that it wasn't. But maybe this year it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, look what happened to Saquon. I don't, it's been a really, has he done anything this season?
He definitely hasn't been his best. He even said it himself in an interview.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen nothing of him since last season. That's the crazy thing. I don't think anybody's talking about him. He's kind of been like a ghost. It's been odd. It's like he's like a shooting comet. Like you see him one time, he's on top of the world and everything, and now he's just falling off. Next day he's gone. Which is really sad to see. He's an amazing player. And just an off I'm sure the Giants fans out there are extremely excited about that. I'm gonna bring the Giants up again. So shout out to you guys. Eagles, just a really, really rough season. I think they haven't played their best football at all. I think there's definitely, and I agree with a lot of people when they say that Jalen Hurts is not a top QB. He's definitely not. I feel like he's definitely and Super Bowl or not, because there's been so many average or mid quarterbacks. I can go through the list of quarterbacks that are just not that good that have won Super Bowls. I don't think that's I think that's a straight up dumb argument. That's really stupid. Championships are won by a team always. It's never a player, never one player. It's always a team, no matter what you look at it. And this is a situation here. I really think that Jalen Hurts isn't a top QB. I don't think the defense has been that impressive this season. There's just nothing really about this team that's standing out to me this year. And going into it, then you look at the 49ers and talk about road warriors. This is the road warrior team this season, and this season just shows how incredible of a coach Kyle Shanahan is and just how wonderful of an organization the 49ers have been. Consistently just staying right to the faithful. They are just winning. And, they had all the odds stacked against them. Earlier this season, they lost a ton of marquee names. We know the list. We don't even need to go over them again. We know the list of guys they lost. Purdy, the Christian McCaffrey, who at one point everybody was saying was a quarterback and doing everything for the team. George Kittle. You lost a lot of guys. I think they've just been, and Mac Jones came in and he just shocked everybody. He really shocked everybody. Nobody thought he was gonna have a shot. And you just like Jeremy said earlier in the program, you love when an underdog story rises to the top. And San Francisco has been this season. They have been that team. They have been the underdog team this season. And I think this is just going to play a big factor. They had a really rough loss, a very rough loss to the Seattle Seahawks to end the season. That's going to really I feel like that's going to really break their spirit. But headed into this game, I feel like they can definitely win this. They could definitely win this one. I don't think it's going to be close with San Francisco. I think they've gotten the heat going. Their offense has, once again, another team that's offense has looked phenomenal. I mean, you just look at how many points they put up each game. With the Browns, it was 26 points. With the Titans, it was 37. With the Colts, it was 48 points. And then with the Bears, it was a tough Bears team at that. They stood their ground, and they had 42 points. So I think that offensively, this team they're one of the best offensive teams in my eyes in the NFL. And it's hard to say because offenses have really blown up this season. But give me the 49ers in a big one. And I think that I think Purdy's going to have an amazing game. I expect an amazing game. And the one factor, you thought I wasn't going to mention it. The one last thing I want to say, they are playing away in Philadelphia. That's the only thing I think that's going to go against the 49ers is that they're playing at Philadelphia, one of the most ruthless fan bases in the league, one of the most ruthless stadiums in the league. That's the only down factor I think is going to be in this game. But give me the Niners to dominate. I think this isn't going to be close, I don't think.
Lorenzo, is there ever a time, let's picture a nice July day, ready? Nice July night. Do you ever go out on the boat and look for those shooting comets you mentioned in the sky? Do you ever
I
look for
sure
them?
do, my friend. You better believe I do.
Nice
Jimmy
a
Buffett.
nice cold one. A nice cold one on a summer night. Look at that.
And some nice Jimmy Buffett right on the water. No
Nice
waves. I
Jimmy
try to go when
Buffett.
there's no waves,
All right. Nice calm weather in back in the hometown, back at the crib. With some Steelers memorabilia in the boat, possibly.
Right in the background if you could see it.
Yeah, of course. Same background as the last episode. Mo Camel, how do you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, it's kind of like Lorenzo brought up some great points, obviously, about this 49ers. This 49ers offense, again, with all the injuries and stuff. We touched on it last week, the previous episode, about all the injuries they had and the adversity they had to face, and they were still, they were hot. Unfortunately, obviously, I'm going to touch on last week against the Seahawks. Their offense just couldn't get anything going against that elite Seahawks defense. So if they happen to meet with the Seahawks again, obviously they will make adjustments. But I think going into this game, I think they have a really good chance of going on the road into Lincoln Financial Field. And as Lorenzo said, Road Warriors, I think they have a real chance to go into Lincoln Financial Field and get a win. It's just really, I think for the 49ers, it comes down to their defense. Obviously, we've seen their defense struggle in some of these games. But last week, even though they lost against Seattle, they still only allowed 13 points. So I think for the 49ers, it's going to come down to defense. Now, on the Eagles side, obviously their offense hasn't really been that great, as we know. I think I don't know if Lorenzo touched on this or not, but Saquon Barkley has not been his best this year compared to the almost MVP season he had last year. Um, yeah, I mean his highest. I mean, you want to hear his highest rushing yards? 150, only 150. That was his highest. Rush game. And that was actually against, believe it or not, the Giants. I'm sorry I had to bring that up, Shayan, but I didn't want to bring it up either, but I kind of had to. But
Damn.
yeah, Jeremy, don't just don't
Thank you,
make me
bro.
bring up the
Thank you.
Jets.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't make me bring up the Jets. But no, I mean it's like for the Eagles, I mean they're the most amount of points they scored this season was 38. I mean their offense hasn't been as explosive. Um, Obviously their defense has been great. All right, they've only allowed like 19 points a game, which is pretty good for a defense, but the Eagles can't rely on their defense. I know defense wins football games, but you have to have some sort of spark offensively. And AJ Brown has struggled this year. Some games he's gotten booed. Devontae Smith hasn't really had like the kind of offensive year he had last year. This Eagles team is just not the same team that we saw last year when they made their run to the Super Bowl. So I feel like if Robert Saleh and that 49ers defense could stop this Eagles team, it might go one way. It might go one way. But for my prediction, I'm going to also take the San Francisco 49ers because
And I think, yeah,
I
keep
feel
going.
like I feel like they're just heavily favored. I feel like I think Philly's favored to win this game. Yeah, they're favored -5.5. But I feel like again, Jalen Hurts hasn't been the same. This offense hasn't really been the same, and I don't know. I just don't see. I don't see the Eagles getting past the first round.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with that with the Eagles is they definitely aren't in the same realm as they were last year. I think you can say honestly at this point, being at home in general, the link or what do they call it? The link, the bank. I don't even know what
Yeah,
they
they
call
call it
it.
the link. The
The
link.
link. Okay, I knew that. I got that right. But it's definitely not the easiest place to play. You do have Road Warriors and the 49ers going into a warm weather environment in Philadelphia. So for the Eagles defense, I think they've been pretty solid for a large majority of the year. So Vic Fangio has done a good job. And for Robert Saleh on that 49ers side, that is honestly one of the biggest things. This is basically a statement game for Robert Saleh. Someone who was the head coach of the Jets, who is looking to get back into the head coaching circuit. He needs his defense to have a good game. 25% of openings, there are 25% of NFL teams currently that need a job. And that could change if the Bills and the Packers lose because a lot of analysts, Ian Rappaport has said it, Adam Schefter has briefed on it. If they lose, Sean McDermott and Matt LaFleur could be on the hot seat. So even more of these teams could be subject to their defeat. But this 49ers offense has just been so good all season long. I really like the way they spread the ball around. They lose Brandon Ayuk, who is doing his own thing. I don't know what he does with his life, but he's not a part of the team. So you have Jawan Jennings, who has stepped up, Kendrick Bourne. You have a good duo at tight end in Jake Tunges and, of course, George Kittle. I really love the way Kyle Shanahan gets his players in a good position to perform. So I'm also taking the 49ers. Jeremy Rodriguez, your thoughts?
Oh man, 4-0.
4-0 right now.
I'm
Nobody's
putting the
taking
Eagles on the
nobody's.
scoreboard. I'm doing it. Eagles got to go on the scoreboard. These are defending champions. They're not going outside like this. Come on, come on. Let's be honest here. No, let me stop. The Eagles. It's going to be a tough game. I think it, the passing offense has to find a way. I mean, Jalen Hurts can't go out there and have 6 passing attempts for the first 3 quarters. That cannot happen. You got to find a way to sling the ball around. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, one of the best 1-2 punches when it comes to wide receiver cores in the NFL. These guys are one of the best to do it as a team, as a 1-2 guy. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are also a great 1-2 punch. But this is an A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Both have had pretty decent seasons with how Jalen Hurts has thrown the football. Both have surpassed 1,000 receiving yards. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So I'm going with the Eagles. I think they're coming they're coming off of a obviously an NFL Super Bowl. I don't think they're losing in the first round. I do not see it, especially at home. I don't see a world where they lose after winning a Super Bowl to lose in the first round. I don't personally see it. I think Saquon's gonna, he's had an up and down season. I think he comes out and he does something good for this Eagles offense. I think he helps out the wide receivers because Jalen Hurts probably will end up struggling in this game with throwing the football. I mean, we've seen it in countless amount of games. So I think if that is the case, I think Saquon does find a way to help out this time around. Both defenses, I think, are going to do really well. I think the Eagles' defense is not talked about as highly as they should be. I think this is a really good defense that San Francisco's going to play. And I don't think they're going to put up many points. I think they're going to struggle as well. I think it's going to be a defensive showdown. I think the Eagles are going to come out on top. I think the Super Bowl championship, just the more experienced, obviously, they know what it takes to win. So I think they're going to do it again, at least in round number one. I don't think they're winning it again, but I think they're going to win in round one for sure.
It looks like I don't think we'll get any 6 for 6s today. I don't know.
Nah,
Especially
probably
with
not.
not with the Steelers Texans. I think that may be split across the boards. But this is a big game. We mentioned it earlier. Kevin Patullo, Eagles offensive coordinator, who had eggs thrown at his house by a bunch of college kids. I'm not sure which college, but that's another topic for another day. That's crazy to do to anyone, just because at the end of the day, it is still a sport. Obviously, you get paid a lot of money for it, but that's pretty insane to vandalize someone's house. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it. I'll get a water gun thing and shoot out sports memorabilia at Lorenzo's house. How's that? Maybe we'll do that. Some MVP cards or something. I feel like you'd appreciate that, Lorenzo. Shout out Lorenzo and his
From the
siblings.
1960s.
Yeah. Or something from the Steagles. Shout out 1943 when the Steelers and Eagles combined during World War II. Anyway, we're getting a little off track. Shayan Malik, your thoughts?
Okay, I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as possible here, right?
Oh my gosh, here we go.
I think the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely suck. I think their offensive coordinator is the worst offensive coordinator in the entire NFL.
Oh,
Their defense,
please.
their defense is very overrated. Their defense has been terrible in the second half of the season. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, can we?
They overhype their defense. Eagles fans overhype their defense so much because it's the only thing they got. Because offensively, they should be very, very good offensively, but their offensive coordinator doesn't know what they're doing. If we're being honest, they got like 6 or 7 open targets that they could go to every single game. But I'm just going to say how it is. If the New York Football Giants of the National Football League were fully healthy throughout the entire season, they would be winning the NFC East. They would be 2-0 over Philly right now. I'm not even joking. I'm not even just rage baiting. I'm so serious. This Eagles team does not deserve to be in the playoffs. They had a very, very uncompetitive, low comp season. They were struggling against teams they shouldn't have been struggling against. You look at the other side. You look at San Francisco. That is this as a team that's not even fully healthy, not currently, and definitely not fully healthy throughout the majority of the season. And they still borderline won the. I believe they had a chance to win the entire NFC in their last game against Seattle. Right, even again with a team that's been hurt throughout most of the year. Of course, you got most of their offensive guys back, but you still got multiple people on defense who are not necessarily ready to play yet and probably won't against Philly. Still a 12-5 team, still one of the best teams in the NFC, finished with a better record than the Eagles in what I'd say was a harder schedule for them, for sure, than what was for Philadelphia, who had their team throughout most of the year. I don't think Saquon Barkley's who he used to be. I think a lot of that has to do with the offensive coordinator. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he sucks, but it's a conversation for another day. Give me San Francisco. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think the Niners are going to win this one convincingly.
The boys from the Bay, 5 out of 6 of us. Shout out Jeremy again. He is the one in 2 of these matchups so far. When we do pick 5 out of 6, he takes the one. Mo, take it away because you have the one finger up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you. Well, I'm not gonna. I'm not saying anything, but yeah. Before we move on to the next game, I'll tell you that I was texting our friend Taylor L the other day, and I'll tell you right now, I told her that we are gonna make these predictions for the game because she's a big Eagles fan. I'll tell her she will not be happy with us
No,
after
I
this.
don't think so. She won't be happy with this, especially maybe just happy with Jeremy because he's the one that has at least somewhat of a trust in the defending champs to go out there and take this one at least. So those are our takes in that game. And shifting over to the final game on the Sunday slate in the wild card round, 8:20 p.m. with Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth under the bright lights in Massachusetts. The New England Patriots, the 2-seeded Patriots, hosting the 7-seeded Los Angeles Chargers. Jeremy, you start this one. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Oh wow. Patriots, man. Patriots. Chargers. Okay. Um, I think it's gonna be a. I don't think it's gonna be lopsided as people think. The Patriots. As a fellow AFC East, fan, you know, I can't downgrade what the Eagles have done this year. Really great team out there, coached by a really good coaching staff. Um, Beat the Jets twice, so that's great. I think the Chargers are better than what people think. I think sometimes the offense doesn't really do their job. They lost 2 games against 2 great defensive teams in the Texans and the Broncos to end the year, and I think that's all they really need. I think as long as the Chargers play a good defense, they're going to lose. I just they haven't really proven that they could beat a good defense yet this year. They beat the Broncos early on in the year when they were still kind of trying to find their footing, but since then, they haven't really lost to a. They haven't really beat a great defensive team. The Patriots are one of those teams. Um, I have to go with the Patriots, as crazy as that sounds, but I don't see the Chargers beating the Patriots. It's Drake May's first playoff experience, and that's what scares me just a tad bit, because I do believe in first year quarterbacks like in the playoffs, struggling in the first time in the playoffs. So it might be a problem with Drake May. They may lose the game, but I can't personally go for the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Patriots, but if they lose, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm going to Patriots in this one.
And it is tough because the thing with the Patriots, they've had such a good first year under Mike Vrabel. It seems everybody loves playing for him. Offense is starting to click at the right time. Similar to, I guess, the Packers and the Bears, they have a ton of options on offense, which is a really, really good thing. But Mo, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this matchup we didn't really anticipate as much. The Chargers had a chance to get a higher seed, to be honest, but they could not really close out the season on a good note. But I'm also going to take the New England Patriots in this game. They've been playing with a lot of confidence this year. Drake May has literally surprised the entire league. I don't think anybody really saw the Patriots being this good this year. I think preseason, Sebastian. I think I was talking with you about this, like the first, they got off to a good start. They were 3-2. I told you they could probably finish 12-5, and
Yeah.
look, they finished 14-3 because they were playing good football and they were winning ball games, and a lot of their games, they just were lopsided. They destroyed a lot of these teams that they have played. Now, some people might say, okay, they had an easy schedule,
They did.
but yeah, that might be true. But they did beat some good teams. They beat Tampa Bay when they were good at the start of the year. They beat Buffalo. They beat Buffalo back in Week 5 when Buffalo was still undefeated. And believe it or not, Sebastian, one of their only losses was against Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Shout out the Steelers.
Let's go Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but they even beat Baltimore back in Week 16. They were trailing in that game. They showed adversity. They came back and they won that game. So this team, they're playing with a lot of confidence. They have a lot of great options, especially on the receiving core with Kayshon Boutte, Hunter Henry, Stephon Diggs, of course, Matt Collins. They have a good receiving core, and of course the rushing game as well with Stevenson and Henderson. This team all around, they're well coached by head coach Mike Vrabel. Now looking on the Chargers side, though, obviously we all know Justin Herbert struggles in the playoffs. He hasn't proved much in the playoffs. It's a lot of people say Justin Herbert's a regular season guy, can't show up in when it matters most. And with this Patriots defense, I think it's going to be the same way. So, obviously we saw last year Justin Herbert against a good defense, right? The Texans. He had 2 interceptions, didn't really have his best game. Will that be the same thing with the Patriots? Obviously, things could change. But I mean, again, I think Jeremy touched on it. Like they haven't beaten a good defense. Like, I mean, you talk about they got week 11, they got crushed by Jacksonville. Herbert only had 81 passing yards. They got crushed by Jacksonville. And obviously they lost to Houston in week 17, another game they had a chance to win. And then obviously Denver, I know they didn't play their starters last week, but they only scored 3 points. So the question is, can they go out and beat a good defense? I feel like that's going to be the key for the Chargers. But for me, I'm also going to take the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football.
Team USA in the Patriots 3-0. Right now, it's difficult to count them out. They've been really, really good, as we mentioned, offensively, defensively. Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator, he should definitely stay there for life. Some people are just not sought out to be a head coach, and that's not a bad thing whatsoever. Stay where you are, make your money, be a good offensive coordinator, and lead Drake May for the years to come. Shayan Malik, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say my prediction. I'm going with New England, right? These are two teams that I'll be honest, and I know it's probably a hot take, especially considering how good New England did. There's three teams that I consider contenders in the AFC right now, and it's not the Pats and it's not the Chargers. I know again the Pats have had a really good season record wise, but the comp is just I don't think this is a tested team. Yeah, sure they've beaten a couple good teams, but a majority of their wins, I think 11 or even 12 of their wins against teams are against teams that aren't in the playoffs right now, something like that. It's just been extremely low comp, and that's something you have to take into account. Where yeah, they're winning, but they're winning against teams. They're winning on the lightest schedule, I would say, in the NFL, if we're being honest. But they have done a good job, especially I really like this team offensively, right, in terms of who they have on paper. I think they have so many targets you could go to. If it's not Jackson Dart, then I'd say Travion Henderson would be rookie of the year. I believe it's Jackson Dart. That's not even me being biased. I genuinely believe that. Then you look at LA, and it's kind of a weird situation, right? Because there's multiple teams, and I've brought it up multiple times yet. The biggest, I think, problem with them is their inconsistent offense. They've looked bad offensively against good defensive teams, and they've looked good offensively even sometimes against bad defensive teams. Or no, they've looked. That doesn't make sense, right? They've looked bad offensively against bad defensive teams, and sometimes they've looked good offensively against good defensive teams. That's what I mean. I don't trust this offense. I think it's been brought up. It was brought up before. Justin Herbert has not been, when you look at his playoff history, it's not something you can really rely on. And against a team that is the second, that has the most wins, that's tied for the most wins in the entire conference, I couldn't take LA here.
Taking LA confidently is Shayan Malik.
No,
Oh no, no,
I
taking
said
the
I couldn't.
Patriots
Yeah,
couldn't take it. Yes, yes, yes. My bad. Taking the
you're good.
Patriots confidently because we are at Mo keeping tally. Shout out Mo once again, keeping a great tally, nice and neat on this Google Doc. LG3, the third out of the Lorenzos in the Gonzalez family. Your thoughts, sir?
Will Campbell,
Will Campbell. He's a
Will
warrior.
Campbell, Stephon Diggs, Drake, Drake May. That is the story. Headed into this first round of the playoffs. You just love to see it right at home in Foxborough on a cold day in beautiful Massachusetts. 8 o'clock. The Chargers are going to be fried. No, I just don't see it at all. I do not see the Chargers winning this game. Why, though? Because Shayan did bring up some great points. He brought up some great points about, I think, did you talk about the Chargers not being tested or the Patriots?
The Pats. I said the Pats haven't really been tested, but you could say the same thing about LA, maybe.
You could say exactly. That's what I mean. I feel like you could say the same thing about both teams. So regardless of the situation, I think it's going to be an interesting playoff game to say the least. But aren't they all interesting this season? Pats, Drake May is coming off probably one of the best, and I've watched football from the 50s to now, as many of my friends here know. This is one of the best seasons I've ever seen a quarterback play. No lie. I think he has had one of the best seasons as a quarterback ever. Over 4,394 yards passing heading into this game. And Stephon Diggs has probably had the comeback receiver of the year, over 1,000 yards receiving after all the crazy stuff he's gotten into, which we will not mention on this program. But you can definitely look at some of the crazy things he had during this offseason with the boat situation.
Oof.
Yeah. Uh, it's pretty shocking how he's gone into this and he's the team's leading receiver. I don't know how he does that. But Travion Henderson, amazing, amazing. Mo mentioned that. Just an incredible running back this season. He's had a phenomenal year. The defense. Let's go over that defense for a bit, shall we? I mean, defensively, this team has just done. They've been something. I think Jeremy can attest to that with the Jets games. I mean, they've rolled over some incredible opponents. Let's not sleep on that defense. They're 8th in the league in total defense and yards allowed, 4th in points allowed, and had the 6th lowest missed tackle rate, allowed the fewest yards after missed tackles in the league. That already, this defense is just, as a core, I can't pick one player out for you, but as a core, that's what wins the ball games, as I mentioned earlier. They play as a team. There's not one guy that's a standout. There's not one guy that's the leader of the team, and then the rest of the team plays a little bit below him, like we see with the Cleveland Browns. This is a team that plays as a collective unit on defense, and that's what I think. There's not one name that you can point out that's like the best of the best with the Patriots. It's a collective unit, and I think that's why they succeeded so much this season. Yes, I think it's a great point that Shayan brought up, is that they haven't been tested too much. But, they've played some great outings even with the games that they did lose. I mean, you take a look at the Bills game, they could have easily won that game. No question about it. I think that was a huge win they should have had. You look at the rest of the season, I mean, you have or the loss with the Steelers even earlier that season. I was shocked that we won that game. That was a very ugly game. I think both teams were right at it. Were right at each other's heads in that one. They only lost by a touchdown. The game with the Raiders to start the season off. Does anyone remember that? When the Raiders actually had the best game of the season was the first game. Geno Smith actually balled out. They had a real ugly loss there, but they still kept it close. Their losses this season have not been as bad as some other teams. I think they've been steady. They've been a steady team, and it's not really their fault that they haven't had a true test, which I will agree. I think both these teams have not had a true test. But then we look at the Chargers. I really think they're just jabronis. I think they're not a good. I think that they are just an awful playoff team. I don't believe in the Chargers at all. I don't believe in Herbert. I think this team has had some ugly losses, and they've really gotten off the tracks in my eyes. I think that one with the Broncos earlier this season was an absolute fluke. I think the Broncos held them really well. They just couldn't win the game. I think they just had that rough, terrible loss to Washington. So I don't trust this team. I really don't trust this team at all. And then the Broncos come back the end of the season, they just dominate them. It's not even. It was 19-3, but trust me, that game was not even close. It was just I don't trust the Chargers whatsoever. I don't think they're that good. I think Ladd McConkey's had a terrible off year, and he was one of my like sneak picks heading into this season because he had such a great 2024. He comes this season, he's just not playing that well. Defense is very defense is the defense is okay. I'm just not. I think Herbert is a great passer, but I don't think he's been that great this season. And I think they're going to be first round exits, especially headed in from the warm, beautiful dome that they love so much. A nice SoFi Stadium, a big dome. It feels like it's 80, 90 degrees in there to the rough cold in New England. It's not going to go well. Weather's going to be the biggest factor in this game for me. Give me the Pats all day. Will Campbell.
LG3, Will Campbell, New England Patriots. We're 5 for 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're 5 for 5. And here's the one thing that I don't think anybody's mentioned it. First of all, Patriots, they're very good. I like the Patriots a lot. I think all of you mentioned at least once Herbert's playoff struggles, but here's the difference this year with Justin Herbert. He's playing with house money. Nobody in the world thinks that he is going to win this game. Do I really have full confidence? I mean, not really, because he hasn't played that well. But a lot of these home games have been where the pressure has been on him and he's expected to go on the run. Do people forget what this offense has when they're clicking? They have a trio of McConkey, who sure hasn't had his best year. That's fine. Keenan Allen, Quinton Johnston, who has had his moments. Oronde Gadsden, shout out fantasy waiver wire player Oronde Gadsden. Omarion Hampton is healthy. Kamani Vidal is huge in the backfield. Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator, who has looked very, very good with his unit. You have Derwin James, Dante Jackson, Tui Pelotu, my favorite name in the NFL. You have options. Jesse Minter is getting head coaching calls. He's getting these interviews. Justin Herbert's playing with house money in this game. I'm taking the Chargers. They have no pressure. I think the Patriots' schedule is very deceiving. Sure, they're good. You don't go 14-3 for no reason, but I think Jeremy mentioned it, and I am as well. I don't trust, not that I don't trust him, but we haven't seen Drake May in the playoffs yet. I don't know how he's going to respond. We've seen Justin Herbert. Jim Harbaugh himself is a proven winner. He's won a national championship at Michigan. He's been to a Super Bowl. Jim Harbaugh knows how to win. I think he prepares his unit really, really well. I think the Chargers offense does some good things and they get some turnovers on this Patriots team. So I am taking the Los Angeles Chargers and our streak. We will not get 6 in a row in this matchup. Mo, you have something to say? Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be Lorenzo here for a second and bring up a little bit of history. You guys want to know what happened? The last time the Chargers and the Patriots played each other,
In the
it
When was
playoffs.
that?
it was 2018 when Philip Rivers went up against Tom Brady
Yeah.
in
Oh, yeah, I remember
Foxborough.
that.
You want to hear
The
more
Yeah,
Patriots.
history, Mo?
huh?
You want to hear
What's that?
more history,
No,
Mo?
Shayan wants to hear more history. Shayan does.
Yeah, I
Actually,
want to hear more history.
let me
Lorenzo.
let me finish and let me finish and I'll toss it over to you.
Oh,
But
my
yeah, I mean,
apologies.
because I actually no, you're good. I saw that on my For You page and I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring that up at the show. You know, the last time the Chargers and Patriots played, Philip Rivers was still the quarterback for the Chargers, and he played up against Tom Brady, and the Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
Lorenzo, take it away.
Well, let's talk about an even better playoff game. How about this? 24-21, 2006, 14-2 San Diego Chargers, crowned to be one of the best teams in all of football if they were to win the Super Bowl, if they were to go all the way, if they were to. And they lost over a Troy Brown strip sack. Tom Brady followed by a touchdown pass to Kevin Falk, secured the win. Patriots, of course, lost in the AFC Championship to the Colts, but wow, underdog New England beat a 14-2 Chargers team, which was also a Tom Brady versus Philip Rivers matchup. What's good, Shayan?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
Look at that. Another little history lesson by LG3 himself. You have to love it. There's definitely a little bit of history. These two teams aren't brand new to the playoffs in terms of their team's history, so you like to see that. But going on to our final game of the wild card slate, Monday Night Football with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the call. The 4-seeded Pittsburgh Steelers, who won in a thriller last weekend over the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC North champion, host the gritty 5-seeded 12-5 Houston Texans, who are on, I believe, is it an 8-game or a 9-game winning streak? One of those two.
9.
I think 8.
9. One of those two.
8 or
Either
9?
way,
9. It's 9. It's 9.
It's
they're
9?
looking,
Wow.
Yeah, it's 9.
looking to win their 10th straight game in the wild card versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mo Camel, start things off with this matchup.
Well, first of all, shout out the Steelers winning the AFC North for the first time since 2020.
AFC North champs.
I mean, it was definitely an emotional time, for Steelers fans. They've been looking for an AFC North title for quite a while now, and you guys finally got that. But to go into this game, obviously we're seeing, the red hot Houston Texans and CJ Stroud coming into Acrisure Stadium to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and obviously for the Texans, they won 9 straight games. I mean, that's just wow, right? Started the season 0-3, and then 3-5. CJ Stroud goes down. Then Davis Mills comes in, wins 3 in a row before CJ Stroud comes back, and this team has just been on a heater. lately. Especially thanks to their defense. I mean, their defense is literally as I hear analysts say, I've been hearing analysts say for the last couple of days now, the best in the NFL. And but but they are also going up against a good Steelers defense as well. I mean, I think looking at this game, it's going to come down to defense and really like which offense will step up. I mean, obviously you have CJ Stroud, who has playoff experience. The Texans have won the AFC South the last 2 years before the Jaguars did it this year. And looking at that, the CJ Stroud, they've gotten past the first round the last couple of years because they had a home game. But this is a little different for CJ Stroud. He's going on the road again. Obviously, we've seen the last 2 years the Texans would get past the first round, but they wouldn't be able to get past the number one seed, which those 2 years it was being the Chiefs last year, the Ravens the previous year. But this is a little different. It's CJ Stroud going up against 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. But again, this offense has been great. They have good receivers. Obviously, it hasn't been, this season hasn't been the best, but they certainly have good receivers like Collins. Jaden Higgins is a sneaker for me in this receiving core. He has been really solid for this Texans offense. And then Christian Kirk. He hasn't been the best, but he's in there. Dalton Schultz. I mean, great tight end, Dalton Schultz. But you look at this team and they, I mean, they're hot. You know what I'm saying? They're hot. They've won some close games. That's another thing to keep in mind. They've won some very close games in this 9-game winning streak. And they're just finding ways, especially when the moment matters. I mean, obviously, we saw last week in a game that they had to have if they wanted to be in this position, which they did beat the Colts. That game was back and forth, but they had to come away to win this one. But now looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously coming off that thrilling win. I mean, probably one of the best NFL endings I've seen in my time watching football. I think, and I know Sebastian and Lorenzo, you guys will probably touch on this more, but I think if the Steelers want to win this game, I think it's going to be on the offense because you guys have probably said it. They've struggled against good defenses. I mean, against the Browns, I'm not really sure what happened, but with their offense. But I think if the Steelers want to have a chance to win this game, they have to have a good game offensively. Obviously, in the first half last week, we didn't really see that. Their offense was kind of stuck in that first half. I feel like if they could set the tone offensively in the first quarter, I feel like the first quarter, I feel like for the Steelers is the most important. Because if they set the tone offensively, I feel like they have a really good chance to keep it going throughout the rest of the game because you got to play 60 minutes of football. I say, yeah, that's certainly one thing. I think it's the Steelers' offense if they want to win this game. But, yeah, I mean, I think in general, just to put it in perspective, I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, the Steelers, we've seen it all season. They have been in a lot of close games, and they've been winning those close games. So I think if the Steelers can keep it close and their defense does what they've been doing the last few weeks, I actually think they'll have a shot at breaking that streak and that stat that you've always been talking about, Sebastian. So I'm taking the Steelers.
Taking to Pittsburgh, Mo Camel on the Steelers train. I'll give mine now. Quick thing. So, talking about the Steelers first, coming into this game, in a game where, of course, those the so-called analysts, they still want to predict them to finish under 500 every single year. I'm not saying that's a good stat whatsoever. I think it's a mediocre stat, but that's another topic. But what are we doing here picking the same team under the same coach continuously every single year to finish under 500 when it never happens? And Mo, I agree with you. I think the biggest thing in this matchup is the Steelers offense versus the Texans defense. And the biggest thing that this experienced, although they're young, they have good experience, a lot of players in their second or third year, that young Texans defensive line going up against a young Steelers offensive line. They will be able to get to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not a mobile quarterback. He's not who he used to in terms of extending plays and making things happen downfield. Yes, he can still do it, but the one advantage the Steelers have is their short game. And this is the one time, if I have a message to Arthur Smith, Steelers offensive coordinator, it's use that dump off game. Don't let the Texans defensive line get to Aaron Rodgers. You have Jalen Warren. You have Kenneth Gainwell. These are guys, let them use their legs to make plays in the open space. And I think this Pittsburgh Steelers offense can open that up to shots downfield. Because who do you have returning in this game? DK
I
Metcalf.
didn't mention that, but I didn't mention that, but DK Metcalf
You
is
have
back.
DK returning after a 2-game suspension. You have, I'm not saying he's good, but you have
Don't punch
Adam
another
Thielen.
fan.
Yeah. You have Adam Thielen as another threat, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Calvin Austin, who has caught 3 touchdown passes this year. All 3 of those touchdown passes have been to take the lead. So that is someone that Aaron Rodgers can trust in the passing game. And then for this Texans offense, Mo mentioned it briefly. They absolutely have pieces. CJ Stroud at the helm, who is 0-3 in games where the kickoff weather is 35 degrees or less, which will be in the high 20s for this game on Monday Night Football. I really don't trust this Texans offense. I think they don't have a really good running game. Woody Marks has been extremely inefficient. He's averaging 3.6 yards per carry. If they don't open that up, they're not going to open the passing game up. You can talk about Nico Collins, alpha wide receiver 1, who is very good, but you'll have Joey Porter Jr. guarding him, who, knock on wood, who has not allowed a touchdown to any receiver so far this season. I don't know. I think the Steelers defense has a knack for forcing turnovers. You have another game healthy with TJ Watt. I think Cam Hayward, that entire defensive line, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Keanu Benton, rotating players in and out. I think they get to CJ Stroud and force a turnover or two. I am taking my Pittsburgh Steelers. They take this victory. Mo, go for it.
Yeah, I think another thing that some probably one of you guys will also touch on is like if the Steelers defense I think also if they could stop the long ball because they struggled with that last week.
Yeah.
I think the yeah, like you said, they'll get to CJ Stroud, but you also gotta it's also you're counting on the secondary too to make sure CJ Stroud, if he's in trouble, doesn't find anybody downfield because they're gonna make him throw it away essentially. So you don't want him to, you got to get to him. Make sure you don't let him get out of the pocket and get an opportunity to throw it downfield to Nico Collins. Because I mean, last year Nico Collins was on my fantasy team, and yeah, he was wow, he was amazing for me. So yeah, I mean, if they could, that Steelers secondary just shut down those receivers, your defensive line gets to CJ Stroud, yeah, I say just defend the long ball, try not to let anything get away from you downfield.
And that's the thing, too, in that last game, those defensive miscues, not that they shouldn't have happened because they happened, but there were tons of miscommunication. And for Terrell Austin, Steelers defensive coordinator, if he can get that fixed, this team can be in a really good position. That second touchdown to Zay Flowers, where Alex Highsmith had Lamar Jackson in his grasp for the potential sack, Lamar threw it downfield, and Zay Flowers was wide open, and Patrick Queen, Steelers linebacker, was on the coverage. That cannot happen. You cannot have Patrick Queen guarding someone such as Zay Flowers with that speed. So it's similar to Monday night. You have that safety tandem in Jalen Ramsey and Kyle Duggar. They need to do a good job in the communication department in order to halt this Texans attack. Shayan Malik, your thoughts on this matchup?
I don't know what's going on here. I think we're 3 deep into Pittsburgh. I don't get it at all. In my opinion, it's either the Denver Broncos or the Houston Texans to win the entire conference to make it to the Super Bowl. This team's I think you guys are like very much overlooking this team's defense. This is an elite, this is a historic, this is an all-time defense. Legitimately one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen. That corner duo is amazing.
Lorenzo does not agree with that, by the way. I saw Lorenzo just grimace.
I saw that too. You got Hunter and Anderson, who are an amazing duo. You got that corner duo. You got Jalen Petrie. this defense is phenomenal. This defense is, and respectfully to Seattle, this defense is way better than that Seahawks defense. No, this is far and away the best defense in the entire NFL. Looking at the other side, looking at Pittsburgh, offensively, they're just too inconsistent for my liking. They put up like 7 against Buffalo, which is one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. They put up over 20 against good defenses. So they just like it's been a back and forth situation for them. Kind of, they've had more good offensive games than bad offensive games. But then you look at Houston, who has the best defense in the entire NFL. Houston, who have consistently allowed not allowed good teams better offenses than Pittsburgh to have bad games. I can't trust Pittsburgh's offense at all against Houston's defense. And then you look at the other side of the ball for both teams. When you look at Pittsburgh's defense and Houston's offense is not necessarily the best, but I do trust that a duo of Collins and Stroud, and it has worked this year. And I think the O line has done a good job of protecting them. I think when you talk about the corner situation, I think Nico Collins will be fine. I think he's overcome adversity throughout the entire season. I don't think people thought he was going to have as good of a season as he actually has. And then you look at Pittsburgh's defense, and it's the same situation. It's just an inefficient, inconsistent season on both sides of the ball. I don't trust the Steelers. I don't trust the Steelers defense that much. I trust that Houston defense more than I trust the Steelers offense, more than I trust the Steelers defense, and I trust that Houston defense by a mile. I think that Texans defense is amazing. I think you guys are overlooking it. I really do think this Texans offense is far and away the best in the NFL, and honestly one of the best we've ever seen. Lorenzo, I don't know anything that happened from like 1920 to
Oh, we're saving
1990.
Lorenzo for
So
last for his
yes,
thought. Lorenzo's going
his
last.
facial expressions is like, what? This team's the best defense, dude. Among teams I've seen, which is not nearly as many teams you've seen, I think this Texans defense is amazing.
Listen, and the crazy thing is, I'm saying all this stuff about what the Steelers can do so well. I'll turn on the game, and then we'll be 5 minutes in. They'll be down 14-0. Mike Tomlin will stare into the camera like this, blinking 55 times, handing out Twix bars in the locker room, saying, "We made it this far, yay!" And then he'll be all silly at halftime. So, Shayan, that's probably the most likely outcome. But I like to be optimistic. Jeremy Rodriguez. What do you think? Also, quick, before we send it over to Jeremy, right now I have the recording. We're still going. We have reached the 2-hour mark on the Sports Corner episode. Who do we think has talked the most on this episode?
Lorenzo Gonzalez the third.
Lorenzo,
Shout out Lorenzo. Jeremy Rodriguez, take it away.
Oh my goodness, the Pittsburgh Steelers and
Oh, by the way, folks, he said they weren't going to amount to nothing this season.
hey,
Yeah.
they got a
Another
fluke
first
win
round
over
exit.
Let's start
Baltimore.
with that.
I don't know. We'll see. All seriousness, it should be a good battle. I think. I think as much as I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers succeed, after his Jets tenure, he has a pretty good shot at it. I think the Texans defense. I agree with Shayan. That defense is ridiculous. If you don't think they're a top defense in the NFL, you're on something. I'm sorry. That defense is actually insane. They have to hope that their players play. I know Stingley is questionable. He was limited in practice. So was Kamari Lassiter. Those are two key guys in the cornerback position that play that position. And you have a lot of players. Johnny Carter has been hurt the whole year. I mean, you have a lot of guys hurt, so you got to be careful on that as well. But I think the defense, regardless of who they're missing, I think they're still going to put up a great defensive effort. So I think the Steelers have to be ready for that. They have to find a way to make adjustments because they're going to have to make a ton of those. I don't know if Mike Tomlin's the guy to make adjustments, though. That's the problem. I think it's going to be more of a coaching battle. And I think that DeMeco Ryans is going to outcoach Mike Tomlin. I just don't. I think the Steelers are going to be at a point in a game where they're going to be finding ways to move the football. And I think the Steelers just struggle at times with moving the football. And I think, again, very difficult and frustrating Texans defense is going to be tough. But the Steelers have a chance. They have experience. Obviously, they have Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. So you have the experience there. You have talented guys, but you have to go out there and make the adjustments. And I think it relies on the coaching staff more than anything else. I think the players are going to be fine. But I think if the offensive coordinator and the coaching staff of the Steelers don't make the adjustments necessary, I think the Texans run away with this one because the defense again is going to play such a key factor, and I think C.J. Stroud, he's been great in the playoffs. From what we've seen in 2 years from him in the playoffs, he's been great. So he's a guy who steps up when he has to, and he's missing Tank Dell. He's missed Tank Dell his whole year, and he's still putting up ridiculous numbers with what he has. Nico Collins being that number one guy, absolutely phenomenal season. Dalton Schultz has been that secondary guy as well. So they have guys who can step up. Woody Marks, obviously, they got guys honestly left and right. So it's going to be an interesting battle. The Steelers, you can say the same thing about them. At the end of the day, I think it's going to be a coaching battle. With that saying, so I don't think Mike Tomlin's up for it. I think D'Amico Ryans is the better coach. I think it's going to be the Texans taking it. I think it's not going to be as bad as Shayan thinks. I think the Steelers are going to put up a really good fight. If they win, man, that's props to them. I just don't see the world where the Texans lose. I mean, that defense is just absolutely remarkable. And until they prove me otherwise, I have to go with the Texans. No hate to Lorenzo. I love Lorenzo. It's my guy, but Texans will win this one, unfortunately.
And I don't even know why I didn't bring it up. Before we send it over to the man, the myth, the legend for his thoughts, if I were to start a franchise right now and he's still young, I'm absolutely taking D'Amico Ryans over Mike Tomlin. He's done a
100%.
great job. But here's the thing. You talk about adjustments. Every time the camera pans to Mike Tomlin during the game, he's just standing there with his headset on, looking like he's holding in a fart. Like he looks constipated on the sideline, like he just doesn't know what's going on. He looks confused every
Okay,
single
would you
time.
rather that, or would you rather a coach be down by 25 points and run from sideline to sideline after an interception? Remember what
You know what?
Aaron Glenn did,
I'd
running
rather that
around.
because at least the Jets have a future. At least they have potential to be good. 2 first-round picks, wide receiver 1. You take Dante Moore. I'd rather that than the Steelers. Mediocre, yay. Let's go 9-8 every year. How about we win a playoff game? Like if we lose, I think Tomlin should be fired on the spot. I don't care if the same situation happens with Harbaugh and 50 teams want to hire him. I know there's not 50 teams, but include Nick, who could be a coach in the XF and a new league. We'll call it the NSFL, the Nick Super Football League. We'll call it that. So he could be a coach there. But it is time for the man, Lorenzo Gonzalez, who may take us up to 3 hours
Go,
with this
Augustus.
prediction. Lorenzo, take it away.
All right, I'll try to make this one as swift as possible.
Nope, you go in depth as possible for Shayan.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing about going into this one, it's a wild card game. It's gonna be on my birthday.
Happy early birthday, Lorenzo.
Yo, Shayan, don't be afraid to put up the.
I've got to
Don't
know.
talk Lorenzo if you have to. All right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
I'll tell him to pipe it. Wow. This is gonna be a game.
It will be a game.
That's for sure. It's gonna be a game. I think the hate for the Steelers is absolutely immense.
There's no hate.
Are you gonna keep interrupting me as I talk?
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't
Yes.
even interrupt you.
Lorenzo, I just want to say one thing. I don't think they deserve to be here. With all due respect, I think that was a fluke victory over Baltimore. I'm not even joking. I'm not even trying to rage bait you. I think
Yeah,
the
well,
Ravens should
here's
be
the
the
thing.
Browns.
shout
If
out
you
Tyler
let me
Loop.
talk-
Shout out Tyler Loop.
That's what I'm
If you let me
saying.
talk. I'm not. You could keep arguing with me all you want. Go right ahead. I'm gonna talk. Just let me talk for once. Sure. When I talk about the Steelers. Well, the backs have been against the wall since the beginning. By the way, we've only had one season when we're 9-8. Let's cut the crap with the narrative.
9-8
They're
slash 10-7. It's a little bit over 500.
No, it's always 9-8. That's why. It's always the same crap from the media. Media always hates on the Steelers. It goes every single year. However, I want to give credit where credit's due to what Shayan said because I agree with him. And I don't agree with him too much, but here's a moment where I truly agree with him. The Texans defense is number 1 in the league. There's no question about it. And that's going to be the end-all be-all for this game. But of all time, I think you're absolutely nuts. I think you're bogus. I think you need to get off your high horse because they allowed 35 touchdowns this year. They are an unbelievable force, though, to be reckoned with. Their defense yards per average that they stopped was 277. I've seen better with the Broncos. I think actually the Broncos are the better defense in the league. However, you could put them side by side like this. But I do think the Broncos are the better defense. But one guy I do love on this team, no question about it, is Al Shahir. I think he's number 0 now, right? Al Shahir? Yeah, I think he's probably one of the. We need guys like him in the league again, defensively. Bottom line, there's too many soft defensive players in the league nowadays, and he's one of the guys that I think he's unbelievable. He's a ruthless defensive player and I just love watching him play. I love watching the Texans defense play this season, but all time, absolutely not. But let's get on with this game because Pittsburgh had a you guys are I'd say Jeremy and Shayan are really sleeping on them, and just like the analysts, I'd say Shayan even more. They're really sleeping on them because the Steelers through and through they had a really rough season. Let's be honest, they had a really rough season. The losses were much rougher, much worse than the wins. I mean, they were much lower than the wins. I think the wins was like a breath of fresh air, and the losses were just like brutal. The Buffalo game, particularly the Browns game they had last, just awful, 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 awful losses that should have won, but terrible losses. And the media really just hates Pittsburgh. I think that's the biggest thing. I think the Steelers have always been ever since because you're such a successful franchise all these years. You get a lot of hate from the media, especially when you have, and I'm going to admit it on here, some of the most obnoxious fans in the league are the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm just going to say that. And that's coming from a Steelers fan. The majority of our fan base is very obnoxious. They're very loud. But the truth is that I think the Steelers could potentially win this game. Why? I think the number one thing, as Mo brought up, is going to be the offense starting early. And that's the one thing. Just like Mo said, I think he was spot on with it. The Steelers win football games when their offense goes on early. When they play early and that offense gets running, and now with DK Metcalf back, as you said, Sebastian, that's their biggest factor. I think it's going to be off. The biggest matchup to watch is going to be Steelers offense versus Texans defense. There's no question about it. That's going to be everybody's going to watch that. That's the biggest thing right there. If DK Metcalf and is Darnell Washington playing in this one? Do we know his status?
He's out.
That's going to be a big factor. The Texans might win with that because Darnell Washington's a huge key factor for this team's offense. When he's good, the offense is amazing. When he is good, I think that the offense just like Mo said, they need to get going early. It's like he read my script because first quarter, it's 60 minutes of football. When the Steelers offense doesn't play good in the first half, they don't succeed. Bottom line, that's what the motto has been this season. They don't succeed. If the team's offense is bad, they're punting a lot in the beginning. It's going to be a rough game for the rest of the season. And I also want to bring up the Ravens game because that was definitely not a fluke. The Ravens defense is awful. They were terrible. Lamar has been on a limb all season long. The only player on that team that had fight was perhaps maybe the wide receivers, but Derrick Henry. That's about it. The team, they played on a limp all season long. That wasn't a fluke. The Ravens are just they're not a great football team. We're not the best football team. I don't think that we're that great of a football team whatsoever. But I do think that the Ravens there is no luck that we had in that game. We played 60 minutes of football. The Ravens decided to sit back and let the Steelers just take over them, and they played like they won the game, and they didn't play 60 minutes of football. You really didn't. You didn't play 60 minutes of football because it was the corners and the safeties that blew the entire game away. The defense was awful. You can argue with me all you want, but the Ravens defense is stale. They're horrible. They're not a good defensive team at all. They all relied on their running game throughout the season, which was an amazing running game, and Tyler Huntley. Why you don't have him in this game is unbelievable. It's because of the money. We mentioned it with I mentioned it with the show last time with Sebastian because I know Shayan and Jeremy weren't here. It's the money reasons, but Tyler Huntley should have started that game, bottom line, if you wanted to win. Because he's had an amazing year as a backup. Probably the best backup season of any player in the league. But, it's going to be in Pittsburgh. This game's going to be really rough, I think. We're definitely going to have a close game. And this could really go either way. I feel like my opinion of this can go really Texans or Steelers if I'm being not biased at all. But I mean, I gotta give it to the Steelers for this one. It's gonna be a really rough game. Uh, defense, CJ Stroud, like was mentioned before, he does amazing. Like Jeremy said, he does amazing in the playoffs. He turns up. If anything, the Texans never lose because of him in the playoffs. But I can't count out Pittsburgh at home. This time they're really going to be at home. It's going to be a big game. It's going to be and Monday Night Football as well. Monday Night Football streak. They never lose. That when's the last time they lost in Monday Night Football? When was that streak? Sebastian knows, I think, right?
It was in the 70s or the 80s, I believe. I'm not sure the exact
Really, it's
year.
been that long. The
Yeah.
streak has gone on for that long.
There
Yeah.
may be 28, 29, and 0 in that span, something along those lines, I believe.
Bottom line is, I know that this is going to be a very exciting game, and there's no doubt about it. This was a great booking decision by the NFL for the 8 p.m. last game of the wild card. So give me Pittsburgh to win it all, and very close game though. We could see another kick again on either side, and I think it's going to be very close.
I'm looking forward to it. Lorenzo, I agree with everything you said very quickly, but I don't agree whatsoever with saying Tyler Huntley should have started that game.
Tyler Huntley was incredible all season.
What
Did
did
we
he
not
do
see his numbers when he played?
What did he do against the Packers in Week 17 besides Derrick Henry rushing for 4 touchdowns?
They
What
still
did
won the game.
Tyler Hunt? So handing the ball off like this, Lamar can't do this.
Yes, because you know why? Because Lamar's been on a limb all season.
Lamar
Why?
took it.
The
Lamar
whole, like
took
I
his
said, the whole
team.
game is the running game. That's their
Yo,
offense. for the
Okay,
most
okay.
part.
Let me say this. If Tyler Huntley was in that game when Zay Flowers caught those 2 deep balls, you think Tyler Huntley would have made those throws?
Tyler Huntley definitely does not make that
Tyler
throw
Huntley
40
didn't
yards.
make. Yeah, I
He's
think
not
he
making that throw.
No.
He's not
absolutely
making
would have.
that throw.
I think with the right setting, the right stage, absolutely. I think he was the best backup, and that's no bias. I think he was the best backup this season, next to Mac Jones. I think he was the best backup in the NFL this season. No
So
question.
you don't think
He
so
came
because
with a team that had no good receiving core. They're on a limb, and he comes in and destroys the Packers in Lambeau.
the
It wasn't
team you just said football is a team game. Tyler Huntley did not destroy the Packers. Derrick Henry in the offensive line destroyed the Packers.
That's right. He did, but he also kept the receiving core afloat. And I don't think Lamar would have done as good of a job against the Packers.
So Zay Flowers going for 100 yards and giving yourself a chance on 4th and 7, where if you just make a kick, you win the game. That's Lamar's fault. He didn't give them a chance to win.
For which one? Oh, the Steelers game?
Yeah.
No, he just didn't play. The passing game was not wide open as it should have been. And that's been a failure with the Ravens all season long. They want to say that the coaches failed him and this and that. Yeah, Harbaugh might have failed him. Yeah, they could have. It could have been the offensive coordinator that failed him. It could have been the game plan. But bottom line, their receiving core didn't do it at the end of the day. I still think it was defense as the majority, though. I don't think it was offense. I think defense. It's the secondary. Their secondary's terrible. They're crap. It's a crappy secondary. So is the front. The front was awful that whole game. I just think their defense, and like Mo mentioned, like I keep saying, defense wins ball games, bottom line. And the teams that have the best core defense, they win the ball games. But yes, I do think that's a big debate for another time with Huntley and Lamar.
Definitely
Give
a big
Huntley
debate
start,
for
man.
another time. We're almost looking at
Huntley's amazing.
We're 2 minutes away from the 2-hour, 30-minute mark on this episode. Fellas, before we sign off for the day, any final thoughts all around? Anyone?
Yeah, I just want to say there was no hatred with my Texans pick whatsoever. If anything, that was Shayan Malik. I gave the Steelers a lot of credit, I actually said they have a shot to win the ball game. Now, with that being said, Shayan had the hate, not me.
That's
Shayan.
facts. I believe it. I agree with Jeremy.
That was all Shayan Malik.
All right, I guess I'll go next. I do agree. I do have the hate. I don't like this team. I think the Baltimore Ravens should be in the playoffs right now. I think if Lamar was never hurt.
Hey, cry me a river, Shayan.
I think if Lamar was never hurt, the Ravens wouldn't have gone 1-4 in that 5-week stretch without Lamar, something like that. So I think if that never happened, I think if Lamar never got hurt, I think the Ravens would be in the playoffs and Pittsburgh would be at home where they're supposed to be.
That's not a bad take.
I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think Saquon Barkley is as good of a running back as people say he is.
Okay, get out of here.
I think in 2 years,
All right, he needs to eat some breakfast, bro.
I think in 2 years, Cam Scott is going to jump the line. I think within 2 years,
when he was
Cam
on the
Scott
Giants, he was him, right?
Hey,
What?
bottom line, they
Yeah.
didn't play
I mean, in
60
New
minutes
York,
of
he was the best
football.
running back in the league.
Oh, okay. All right. He was the best running back in the league. Okay.
Yes,
Listen,
he was.
Lorenzo, it's tradition on this show. Are you ready? I'm putting you on the spot again.
I agree with Jeremy with everything he said. He did not put any hatred towards my team, which he usually does. I'll give him all the credit. That was a great take by Jeremy.
I know it was. Thank you.
Lorenzo, very
Thank you,
quickly,
Jeremy.
ready? Name the 1977 NFL MVP and the two teams that played in the Super Bowl. Go.
Easiest choice of my life.
Go.
Sweetness himself, Walter Payton, perhaps the greatest running back ever. And then the Super Bowl was in the Superdome, Louisiana, Cowboys over the Denver Broncos.
What was the score?
Oh God, I don't know this. Can I take a guess? Take
Yes.
a guess for giggles.
Gets and Shiggles, we'll call it.
27-10.
Let's see. Now I need to look it up. Now I have to. Who was
If
it?
I'm right, what are we gonna do if I'm right?
Who was it? Cowboys and who?
Cowboys and the Denver Broncos, the Orange Crush defense.
All
If
right.
you're right, Lorenzo, you invite all of the boys to your.
There's no way you got that right. What?
What?
Bro?
I got the score right?
27-10, the 1970. Yup, January 15,
You're almost a
1978.
cookout now, Lorenzo.
Shayan, can you believe? How did you get that
Bro,
right?
I
How does
don't,
he-
bro. I don't
I think
know
you
what
owe
to
me
say,
a
bro.
cookout, Sebastian. What the heck? I didn't. That was
Lorenzo
random.
something.
Yo,
No, the
Lorenzo,
score was random. I didn't even.
27-10.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I can't
That's
believe
wild.
Lorenzo. I can't believe you got that right. But now you got to pay for dinner, bro. Since you got it right.
Yeah.
Wait, so I get punished for getting it right?
No,
Yeah,
you get
get
to
rewarded.
you get to
I get
use your
punished?
credit card, bro. It's a good thing.
Nah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. We got to
That's
do a
Listen.
cookout. I like Jeremy's thing. We got to do a cookout.
You gotta go to
You
late
guys got
pack on, bro. We gotta go late hip hop on, bro. We gotta eat at Lorenzo's beautiful lake house.
Oh yeah.
facts.
Mo, any thoughts?
Not really, but like I will say though, I am very excited for these games. I think every single game is a good one.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think I mean, I gotta call tomorrow, but then probably after the game, probably go home and watch the Rams and Panthers on Fox.
Hey, listen. Speaking of that, good luck. Mo, who's on play-by-play? I don't even know.
I think it's
He
me.
didn't say. Yeah.
He didn't specify, but I think it's me because my name was first.
Yeah.
And then,
sense.
I mean,
Listen, Mo Camel, good luck. You're gonna kill it. Jamie Rodriguez, of course. Never have to doubt you. He does. Been in this for a while at WMSC. Lorenzo on a call too, right? High school tomorrow with
Guess
Mike
who
Kirk.
I'm with?
Mike Kirk, right?
I'm with
Is it Michael Kirk?
the Captain Kirk, and I'm gonna be color with him at his high school. It's gonna be in Ridgefield basketball. They're playing Saddlebrook. It's gonna be I think the same time as Mo and Jeremy's game. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be two basketball games going on. I'm really
And then
excited.
Shayan and I will be listening. Shayan on board. I'll be on panel with
Mhm.
Megan Lipscomb. Looking forward to that pregame show, 12:45. So time to lock in all areas. But that is going to do it on this. Let's see, final tally. We made it to the 2:30 mark on the Sports Corner from Sebastian Stratton, Nicholas Supa, who is 40 minutes clocked into work right now.
Need that selfie.
You
Need
always
that
have to
selfie
make
from
sure. You
Stupa.
have to. You have to make sure it's on target. Mo Camel, Shayan Malik, LG3 the third, Lorenzo Gonzalez, and Jeremy Rodriguez. Thank you for listening. We'll update it later. We'll upload it, edit it up, make it look all good. Get a selfie of Nick at work and make it look all beautiful. Have a great day, everyone. Let's go Steelers. Mo Camel, Jeremy Rodriguez on the call, ladies and gentlemen.